Hi and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at who's watching your social media. And before we get started, I wanted to remind you that this is a general reading, so not all of the messages will necessarily resonate with you and your situation. Just take what works for you and leave the rest behind. If you resonate with the messages that come through, you like the video, you like my style of reading, please give the video a thumbs up, comment, or subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so you are aware of when I post new videos. I'm typically posting Monday through Friday, so 5 videos a week. If you'd like a personal reading, I have a couple different options that I'm offering at this point in time. I have some written readings, but I'm phasing out of those, so there's just maybe 3 or 4 left available in my Etsy shop. I offer video readings now, pre-recorded video readings that will be sent to you as a private YouTube link. So those are also available in my Etsy shop, along with channeled love letters, which are just standalone letters sent to you as a PDF file. I also sell handmade jewelry, dreamcatchers, and suncatchers if you're interested in checking any of that out. All of that's available in my Etsy shop. There's a link in the description box of the video and also in the About section of my channel page here on YouTube that will take you to my Etsy shop, so you can browse all of that and see if anything's a good fit for you. So in terms of this reading, there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Amethyst, along with these cards. Group 2 is the Citrine, along with these cards. And group 3 is the Apophyllite, along with these cards. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead, which I do recommend using so that you can skip over me shuffling cards in between groups to clear the energy of the group I've just read for and tap into the energy of the group I'm about to read for, and lets you like listening to the shuffling of cards. If it's a form of ASMR for you, then please feel free to just listen all the way through. Otherwise, I'll give you a minute to make your selection. Please use the timestamps and we'll get into your reading. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Amethyst, along with these cards, which I'll start with to see who is watching your social media. We've got the 2 of Pentacles, so that is Earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Strength, which is Leo. Four of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Five of Pentacles, so more earth energy. The Thinking Man. Gift. Egotism. And Moon. So definitely with the Four of Wands, that 1111 card, this could be a twin flame, somebody that you are in separation with, no contact with kind of this energy of sort of balance that's in here with the Two of Pentacles, and also kind of that strength and gentleness in the Strength card, and also the two doves here in the Four of Wands. This can be somebody that you have kind of gone through several cycles of back and forth with, kind of a runner-chaser energy, somebody who, you know, presents to you as being very ready, very open to kind of working on things. Maybe you have a little headway in the interactions with one another, only for things to kind of unravel or fall apart. Somebody who's still operating really in their pride and their ego, somebody who's having a difficult time kind of releasing with the Moon card some cycles in terms of maybe some toxicity in their mindset, in their behavior, in the way that they are approaching this connection or love and romance in general. Somebody who might be very fixated, very focused on the 3D reality, very concerned with kind of the acquisition of material wealth, the creature comforts, the things that they have. Somebody who is very concerned with appearances as well. And that this might have been a factor previously in the connection, feeling very drawn towards you, very compelled towards you, moving towards you in order to almost have that pride and ego kind of rear its ugly head. A lot of fears, or, you know, kind of even sort of thoughts about what would people think about this, feeling that maybe they are ready to take things to the next level, to the next step of commitment, that they're ready to invest more fully in this, only to almost get distracted by shiny objects, or you know, kind of, again, this idea of appearances, things that they feel that they need to focus on at this point in time before devoting themselves more fully to this connection or to romance in general. With the Moon, this could be somebody who is kind of secretive. The Moon can also relate to Pisces and Cancer energy, but in this context, it's really bringing up almost Scorpio energy in terms of kind of that element of secretiveness. Somebody who, you know, is really not giving any kind of outward impression. They're almost cloaked. They're almost disguising themselves so that you are not aware of kind of what their true intentions are, what's really in their heart and on their mind. Kind of maybe watching from fake profiles, for example, kind of lurking in the shadows. With this Five of Pentacles, this can also talk about somebody who is definitely on the outskirts of your life, somebody that you've cut contact off with, or somebody who might have even made that choice to kind of move in another direction, somebody who might have cut things off with you, but then secretly has kind of doubled back, and they're watching from almost the perimeter, the peripheral, kind of under the cover of night with the Moon here. A lot that they are keeping hidden, a lot that they're keeping secret, as far as this desire, this draw that they have towards you that might be quite contradictory, quite contrary to what they had declared previously in terms of, you know, maybe not being interested in the intensity of the connection, wanting to focus on other things, or even some kind of a choice that was made with that Two of Pentacles between you and someone else that they were juggling, and they chose to move in another direction. Nevertheless, they've been unable to shake thoughts of you with the Thinking Man. They've been unable to get you off their mind. Again, this very secretive energy of kind of watching from a cloaked perspective, so that nobody in their reality is really aware of this. Somebody who almost is living kind of a double life, presenting one sort of face in the daylight, and then kind of in the cover of night, in kind of these quiet moments, very secretly and sort of behind the scenes. They're observing you. They're thinking thinking about you. There's a lot of wishful thinking in this energy in terms of, what that would look like to come forward, to give this connection another chance. They may even be contemplating, with this idea of gift, and then this man who's holding this crystal cluster here on the thinking man, presenting you some kind of an apology or some kind of clarity that, maybe they had held back on before, or kind of that pride and ego had gotten in the way. And so they really contradicted themselves in terms of an investment that they had made into this connection, only to sort of pull away very suddenly, or to, kind of refute what they had said earlier. And there's this contemplation that is being given to, what if they had made a different choice in this situation? What would that look like? How would you receive them? Would you receive them in this very kind of open and gentle energy? Or would you be very ferocious with them if they were to return to you? A struggle that is happening for this person that it feels like has been ongoing in the course and the duration of your dealings with them overall, where their heart is leading them in one direction, but then pride and ego kind of pull them back into another direction. There's almost this contradiction here as well, with the sun on the egotism card, and then the moon here. So again, the two faces of this person, where what they are displaying in the light of day, what they are declaring, what they are outwardly investing their time and energy into. Maybe even it's another marriage, with the Four of Wands here, a decision to have committed to somebody else, to return back to a previous partner, or to build toward a relationship with somebody else, with kind of that ultimate goal in mind of that being the forever person, that being the partner, that being the spouse, and that this being very contrary to kind of this hidden truth within themselves, something that they just can't shake, something that is very much in contradiction to whatever sort of actions or steps that they are taking, whatever direction their life is moving in, whatever sort of impression they are giving in an outward appearance, maybe even things they are posting on social media, or somebody who's completely silent in that regard, and you're really just, if you're checking up on them, there's no real indication of what's kind of going on, somebody who's very vague, very cloaked about all of that. But beneath that cloak, there's a lot stirring within this person where they're weighing their options. There's a decision that needs to be made. This could be a tendency within this person, kind of this wishy-washy energy, almost with the Five of Pentacles, somebody who self-sabotages, that their silence, they're keeping things very cloaked and very hidden, very reserved, is almost keeping them on the outskirts of the sanctuary that they could experience with you, returning to these good times with you, or even just moving in the direction of a life which feels better for them. There's a tightness to this energy where if they have chosen to move kind of with these blinders on to sort of the deeper spiritual implications of this connection and to who they are as an individual, choosing only to focus kind of on the material plane, on things that are very practical, very logical, that kind of make sense, where it all adds up to them, where that pride and ego is a major factor, what people will think of them, the impression that others have of them, or this image that they are trying to project, that it's almost there's a lot of pressure with that kind of the more that they move in that direction, the more time that goes on, the further along this path that they go, the further away from kind of with this water here in the background, this, kind of emotional fulfillment that they might have tasted with you. The potential could have been there. They could have directly experienced with you at some point in time, but then a choice was made to move in another direction, to not take that leap of faith or to continue on that path, with this ship here in the background, almost on this new adventure, traversing to this new landscape, a new landscape internally and in their life in general, that they've chose the predictable path, the straight and narrow path, something that's been paved or has been, set forward for them, either following in the footsteps of family or expectations, or just a road that they were headed down before the two of you collided, and things were really shaken up within this person. Some kind of an effect, some kind of an awakening happened, some kind of an awareness of this otherness. And again, a choice made to kind of return to or to continue down what is safe and predictable and known. That it's almost that there's a sense of there's not a lot of freedom of movement in that. they're acutely aware and are starting to really, think about this. And it's part of that draw back towards you that keeps them now at this point, or is encouraging them, or has spurred them at this point to kind of watch you from afar, to kind of move through their life, to continue on this, this pattern or this trend. But there's this sense of not being able to fully let go of what they've encountered and what they've experienced with you. There's a sense of awareness that they are having that there's not a lot of freedom of movement on this path or in this lifestyle or in this choice that has been made. It's a very narrow road for them versus what, memory is kind of reminding them of, or their soul or even their heart is kind of pulling them in the direction of, with you, there was just this wide open possibility, these open seas. It was very unknown. It was an adventure. And yet there was a lot more mobility and flexibility with that in terms of destinations you two could arrive at. Kind of what you would encounter along the way, aspects of themselves that would kind of rise out of the depths, out of the subconscious of this person. They could also really be this sense of pressure could tie into a little bit of cowardice that they are feeling with this strength card here, where it's a little bit of regret at having taken the easy route, made the easy and the predictable choice, as opposed to courageously moving in the direction of where their heart was really kind of guiding them and pulling them. They do recognize this connection, even just in a very subtle way. They feel that it's very much a gift to have encountered you, and it's something that they've not been able to really let this go, hence the fact that they are kind of creeping around in the shadows and sort of watching you, observing you from afar, this wishful thinking, a sense of you being very out of reach, most likely because they put themselves out of reach or pushed you out of kind of the realm of their tangible and material existence. And yet there is still this draw, this feeling of a decision having been made that in somehow in a lot of ways, in kind of these larger spiritual ways, has kind of limited their options in terms of experiences that they may have, or this depth of richness that they could experience with another person, based on kind of the road that they are now headed down. With these two doves here also in the Four of Wands, this can really talk about a sense of peace, and again, this sanctuary that we see here in the background of the Five of Pentacles, that they really have felt in your presence. It's something to where this almost feels like an escape for them, that there's a lot, again, of kind of turbulence within this person, that they're trying to go through the motions. They're trying to stick with that decision, or in this part of this cycle that you may find yourselves in repeatedly, of this kind of runner-chaser energy, where this person is pulled away and they're trying to, just kind of continue down that road that they've chosen, and yet they're drawn back to you. They're drawn back to this sanctuary and the peace and kind of the safety that they felt with you, this kinship, the two of you really being birds of a feather, where in a lot of other ways they may feel that, it's very difficult to kind of align with others in their life, that there's this kind of deep incompatibility for who this person is and others in their lives are, kind of at the core level, at the soul. But the two of you are very well matched. It is this counterpart energy here. This can also be something where they may be trying to give you almost these subtle signs, again with that energy of kind of this cloaked and sort of masked energy here, where there's little innuendos or suggestions that they are really kind of putting out there. If this is somebody, this could be also be somebody who, again, with kind of this sort of double energy that's here, they could have kind of their ordinary, their very mundane, their personal sort of social media profile, and then it's almost like they have this whole other persona where maybe they are more free in their expressions, and it wouldn't necessarily be traced back to them, or through these innuendos and these hints that they give. It's almost like through a process of deductive reasoning, you can kind of connect the dots and see that this is just an avatar that this person is using. It's a facade. It's, again, a fake profile that they are maybe being a little more romantic in, posting songs that are pertinent to the two of you, maybe liking all your photos, commenting on your photos, but again, from this, or other, things that you are posting on social media, following some kind of social media account, engaging with that in some capacity, It doesn't feel like it goes so far as the two of you necessarily having conversations, but in some way they are reaching out. They're making like little bits of contact, but again, from this very cloaked perspective where, you know, it doesn't necessarily all roll back onto them, but through this process of deductive reasoning, through kind of connecting the dots, there's a lot that kind of ties back into, you know, this being kind of that alter ego of the person that you've been dealing with in the 3D sense, who very trapped in that pride and ego. What they're presenting in terms of, you know, their standard kind of social media profile, very mundane, very, you know, just kind of by the book, going through the motions, but then there's this whole kind of other cloaked aspect of them that is interested in, is willing to, and is feeling this need to kind of reach out and engage with you in other ways that they are not necessarily, they don't have the courage to do yet. They need to defeat that pride and ego in order to kind of reconcile those two things, that kind of that fake profile, that shadow avatar versus who they are kind of in the light of day, that there's a disconnect with that. That's kind of part of this person's task or quest at this point in time, is kind of that courage to sort of blend these things together, to collapse those walls and to step out of this shadowy energy and kind of make those more direct declarations to you. But in the interim, they can't let you go completely. And so this is almost, it feels almost like a guilty pleasure, some way that they can still kind of maintain this connection without outwardly kind of jeopardizing other things that they have going on in their life, and without giving you direct and outward kind of indications that they're still thinking about you. They're still in a way actively engaged in this connection, very much thinking of you, very much focused on you. And so instead it's kind of this energy of the innuendos and the implications. It may even just be somebody who's like liking your photos, or they could be completely silent and are just kind of a follower or a subscriber who's kind of, again, watching from the shadows, from this very cloaked energy, but heavily engaged in that. Very aware, never missing a post. You know, if you post videos, watching all of those things, just in some way very actively and tangibly and secretively still engaged in whatever you have going on in your life that you are putting out there in whatever form on social media. So I'm going to get some messages from this person's higher self now and see, what do they want to tell you, group one. Okay, and they say, I'm ashamed of how I treated you. So this could really account for some of that energy of lurking, where maybe some kind of an apology is owed, with that kind of thinking man holding the crystal cluster and the gift, where this person is still really battling, again, that pride and ego. They feel more comfortable just kind of watching at a distance, remaining at the outskirts, or again, interacting with you through some kind of fake profile or avatar. Because they're still in this process of really battling that component of themselves, the ways in which declarations that they made, or a choice that was made to, you know, maybe return to a marriage that was kind of broken or falling apart, juggling of you and another person, leaning more into kind of the opinions of others versus following their own heart. All of this has left them with a sense of regret, that they are still in this stage of not really being sure how to express that. You know, the pride and the ego are keeping them from being very humble, to coming towards you with open hands, with open arms. There is thought that is being given to that, a lot of thinking about this, a lot of what has happened in the past, a desire to kind of move toward that, to evolve beyond this, but this disconnect still about how to really tie up the loose ends of what occurred before, and forge something meaningful and of value with you going forward in the future. They also say, will you give me a second chance? So again, more of that hesitation that is perhaps motivating them to kind of take this more dubious approach to you, of the fake profiles and kind of just lurking in the shadows, because they're uncertain about what sort of energy you will greet them with. If it's going to be this gentleness, as we see here on the Strength card with the Maiden, or if you're going to be a little ferocious with them with the Lion, if you're going to really give them a piece of your mind, or really kind of they're afraid almost of you giving them a taste of their own medicine. Someone who's very cognizant of that, of kind of the pain and the confusion that they caused, and it's kind of part of this process of working up that courage, is to travel that shadow land within themselves, really reflect on what they did or what they said, and kind of the ramifications that has had, sort of putting themselves in your position, seeing you from a different angle as well. Things that might have been said very impulsively, or an impulsive decision that was made, through this energy of really watching your social media. They're seeing you in a new light. They're starting to appreciate you in this connection, who you are, and kind of that energy of sanctuary and peace that you offered to them. They're placing a lot more value on that than they did previously. And so there's still this kind of uncertainty within them about, can this be salvaged, or is this something where they're just going to need to kind of remain in the shadows of your life forever? And we also have telepathic bond. So that can really tie in with that energy of sort of innuendos, little things they are suggesting, hints that they are dropping, through either some kind of fake profile, or even in subtle ways, kind of, things that would have only resonated with the two of you on their main profile. Every once in a while, there might be something. This person feels like, based on the amount of time that they're thinking about you, this investment in you as well, in terms of watching your social media and kind of going back over the series of events and what has happened in the totality of your connection. You're receiving a lot of that information. You might be thinking about this person a lot, sensing them energetically around you, all of that being a direct result of kind of the investment of energy, of thought energy, of mental energy that is going into you, this energy of observation that you're then picking up because of this very unique soul connection, this bond with this person. They also say, I didn't mean what I said. So again, this energy of regret and impulsivity, and really having to battle against that pride and ego, to humble themselves, to come forth with an apology, to try and make things right. And they're at a place right now where all they can really do is watch and observe, and kind of feel bad about that, but being very, very uncertain, or still kind of rigid in their stance of being unwilling to just come forth, and try and, in a more direct way, kind of smooth out the difficulty, the creases in this relationship. They also say the changes are real. So in this process of kind of introspection that this person is going through, they're starting to again have this change of heart, or this clarity that is coming to them, about how they see you, the significance of this connection. This is something where it feels like a process of evolution that they're kind of fighting, they're digging in their heels about, they're trying as best as they can to kind of just continue with whatever choice they have made up to this point in time. But it's becoming more acute to them, especially with how much they're observing you on social media, that they made a wrong choice, they made a wrong turn. And so again, somebody who might have just been in that energy of the runner has kind of done this about face. Now they're paying attention, they're seeing you. They're also recognizing and seeing some kind of change within you, some kind of glow up that you have had, or through this observation of your social media, they're recognizing ways in which you have evolved since the last time they were dealing with you, how you've picked up the pieces of your life, and kind of sewn your own heart back together after dealing with this person and whatever it is that they put you through. And it's something that they are admiring, that they're recognizing, that they may feel a little intimidated by that as well, which is kind of causing them to sort of keep to the shadows, sort of this timidness that they have towards you now. They're seeing you kind of in your power, taking back your power in a lot of ways in your life, moving toward abundance, creating a lot of stability for yourself in a lot of other ways. And there's an energy of being very proud of that, feeling at the outskirts of your life as well, kind of wishing that things could be different, that they'd made a different choice, that they were there with you to celebrate these victories. They also say, I want a future with you. So they are giving consideration to kind of how to return to you, how to kind of make some sort of a change. They don't want to continue on in this tightness and this energy of kind of distance and of continuing to move further and further away from you, but still in this stance of uncertainty about how to kind of reconcile and sort of bring together those two aspects of self, who they present themselves to be in the light of day, the kind of 3D mundane reality they have versus this truth of their heart that keeps pulling them back to you, unable to forget you, unable to move on from this, drawn back even in a very, again, kind of a dubious way or a secretive way. To kind of be that observer, that constant observer energetically, and also in kind of a literal physical sense in terms of your social media. They also say you deserve more. So they know that, they didn't give you the best of them when you were dealing with them. They're recognizing your value. They're recognizing your worth. They may also be kind of keeping to the shadows as they are aware of kind of these changes that you've made. They're seeing you from a new perspective, from a new light, and taking a look around them very honestly and realistically at the life they have built for themselves. A lot of untended shadows within them. There's a sense of a lot of work that they need to do before they are in a place of preparedness internally and externally to be able to offer something of value to you. And they also say, I can't walk away. So again, a confirmation there of unable to completely detach from this connection, unable to get you off their mind. They're drawn back to you many times a day and over the course of time. And it's something where it's a guilty pleasure almost. They've tried to move on. They've tried to abolish these thoughts of you. They've tried to extinguish that, to distract themselves, to focus on what's around them. But almost the things that were giving them kind of a sense of joy and satisfaction before, the rewards of that are not as sweet, because they've been touched, they've been affected, they've been activated by this connection and this energy with you. And it's something where it makes it even more difficult to kind of go back into that box they were living in before, because they've now had a taste, a perception of kind of a wider world of possibility in terms of life, love, and romance through what they have experienced with you. So I'm going to close this reading for you, group 1, with some initials. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got A, R, W, D, C, I, Y, O, H, L, F, M, N, J, and B. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Citrine along with these cards, which you'll start with to see who is watching you on your social media. We've got the Nine of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Queen of Swords, which is air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. Eight of Pentacles, which is earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. The Tower, which is Aries. Door to Romance. Imprisonment. Flattery. And Book. So right away, this is feeling like somebody who is on the outskirts of your life. With the Tower, this could be somebody that you were dealing with, you were in a relationship with, or you were starting to kind of build a connection with, and there'd been some kind of a fight, some kind of a shakeup, something that happened, a lot of devastation, maybe something you discovered, something you found out that was very devastating. Harsh words exchanged between the both of you that led to, some words that were said that couldn't obviously be taken back, that wounded to the core almost, have left kind of with the Nine of Wands, this almost this lasting kind of hurt or almost kind of these sour feelings between the two of you. It's been a wedge. It's been something that has lingered. It's been something that has carried forth with that Eight of Pentacles. It's perpetuated. It's been very difficult to kind of get beyond. It's not something that can be easily forgotten. With this Imprisonment card, and then also with this Caged Heart in the Door to Romance, this could be somebody who maybe you blocked out of your life. You closed the door on them. Access that they had been granted to your life has now been kind of revoked. This could also be somebody who maybe on the flip side of that had blocked out your access to their life. Somebody who, might have been very kind of abrupt and harsh in the words that they said, very impulsive with the kind of the Queen of Swords in the Tower, and with this Book here, a lot of exchange back and forth, again, some kind of a fight, or even kind of some kind of a long email or a long kind of a text message, something on social media, a direct message exchange back and forth, that was just, it was very hurtful. It was a lot of information that was given, and then an abrupt cutoff. No chance for a rebuttal, no chance to really, kind of respond to that. It was almost like something that was sent, and by the time you received it, communication is already cut off. You're already blocked out. There's no way to kind of access this person. And so this really then ties into this idea of that, despite what has occurred, this person might have either unblocked you without your knowledge on social media, but they're kind of, it's this energy of hesitating, where they may have unblocked you, but they are not necessarily ready to make this communication yet. There's still this tentativeness. There's still this guardedness about this person, this kind of hesitation about maybe not wanting to make matters worse. And so they're just kind of observing you from afar, testing the waters, trying to really kind of see and almost investigate and determine if there's any coming back from this, if there's any way to kind of clean this up. Somebody that may have done some kind of internal work within themselves, somebody who could also have had a tendency to kind of work themselves up into a frenzy, maybe somebody who had a tendency to be kind of jealous and really leapt to certain conclusions. And then in the aftermath of that has really had this opportunity to kind of self-reflect. Something has really given, something has really shaken up. They've not just been able to walk away from this situation scot-free. It's something that they have they've really had to go through this reckoning. Kind of the hurt that they've inflicted upon you has multiplied in their life. It's almost like this was the first domino of kind of a series of things which then fell apart. Some way that they treated you, something that was very unfair, very contradictory. With this idea here of flattery, and we've got these two faces that are facing away from each other, that is very contradictory to kind of this internal mind, the higher self, where the two faces are facing one another. There's this cohesion. So that action, what was said, was very contradictory to where you thought, the direction you thought things were heading, this very flourishing, this bountiful connection, feeling that the two of you are on the same page, and this abrupt kind of change of pace, a change of heart in this connection. And there being repercussions for that. This almost being perhaps some kind of a pattern of fear within this person, a tendency within them to kind of stifle or stuff down, sort of these fears of commitment, fears of intimacy, it feeling safer and easier and more familiar to almost kind of self-sabotage rather than, kind of risk things falling apart. But that this action, this step that they took towards you or in the demolishing of this connection, it's had a ripple effect out onto them, into their life. They've done some work within themselves. They've had to really, come to terms with a lot of repair that they've had to do in a lot of other ways in their life, maybe a process of needing to make amends to a lot of different people. And there's a sense of knowing that in some way they want to kind of fix this situation, feeling very much at a loss for how to accomplish that, very much on the outskirts of kind of your life. It feels that they've put themselves there or have kind of pushed you away. And so things that were really kind of blocked or were kind of prohibited between the two of you, there's been kind of an easing of that. Somebody who, might even... It doesn't feel that they've necessarily made a fake profile, but if they've blocked you on their main social media or they've closed their social media accounts, this is somebody who's almost kind of sort of moving around, somebody who's kind of reintroducing themselves onto those same platforms, somebody who has is aware of you, is aware of your social media presence, but is kind of watching from the outside, kind of watching silently, most likely not commenting on things, not liking things, not even necessarily subscribing. This feels like somebody who, kind of types you into a search engine, goes onto your page, does their observation, does their reconnaissance work almost, and then deletes that, deletes that off of the search bar, kind of clears that, clears kind of the evidence of that. It doesn't necessarily feel to be because there's other people involved that they're trying to hide this from, but it's almost this urge to kind of move towards you, to, kind of feel things out, to look at things, and then, being very drawn again from this kind of higher self, this soul level towards you, in order to just almost then second guess themselves and backtrack, delete that, erase that, forget that, move back into this place of the two of you being very remote, very removed from each other, very isolated from one another, sequestered from one another. It's almost like you've remained in their heart as much as their actions might have dictated otherwise, as much as they have tried to kind of self-sabotage this. They keep every once in a while kind of unlocking that door, that inner chamber to their heart, and kind of moving around in there, looking around at that. The memories at a certain point become insufficient for them, and so they need to kind of take more drastic steps in the form of, again, kind of looking you up on social media, sort of moving around there, doing that observation, kind of around there, sort of spying in that capacity, only to then, almost kind of want to backtrack, want to demolish that, delete everything they've seen. If they've screenshotted things, if they save things, they may be repeatedly kind of deleting these things, deleting these folders, kind of clamming up, going back into that stance of being very withdrawn, only to kind of, sort of move back towards you again. With this idea of book, this can also be somebody who has drafted many different kind of things that they want to say to you, emails they want to send, maybe even somebody who at different points in time have started to draft like comments on your photos, almost very instinctually or impulsively, and then they shake themselves out of this this fog or this stupor, and they realize, oh my gosh, what did I just about do? I just about made my presence known in a very public way, in a very physical way. I can't have that. I'm not comfortable with that, and just kind of deleting all of that, erasing all of that, just kind of wiping that all away. And a lot of kind of back and forth with this. A lot of wounds within this person. This really feels to be somebody who has kind of major issues, fears of commitment, fears of being trapped in relationships, trapped in and kind of losing their autonomy, losing their identity while in kind of a connection with another. And that this can also be the energy of somebody who got almost cold feet with you. And instead of expressing this, they just almost, ghosted or blocked or just kind of pulled back into their shell, kind of demolished the situation. But it's something where you've not been out of their heart. Whatever they may have said or done, it's very contrary to the truth, the reality of what is on their mind. These thoughts of you that will just not fade. Being unable to shake this, this whole kind of litany or script of memories that they're going back over. Somebody who is, really reflecting on kind of how the situation was handled, how they handled things. And there's a lot of kind of regret with that. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Somebody who may have demolished this relationship to kind of guard themselves, to protect themselves from being hurt, to kind of try to protect this heart, this tender heart within them that they almost have caged up, kind of a closed down heart chakra. Somebody who may have been deeply hurt in the past, or somebody who just never took the time to heal from disappointments in love in the past and almost closed down, or kind of that heart center became very kind of hard and almost twisted like a shell around that heart that's very, very difficult to kind of crack, very difficult to penetrate. And in some way, they may have really felt this fluttering. They really may have felt this heart coming to life within them, and that this was so it was so mind-blowing, it was so earth-shattering, this awakening, this heart chakra activation that they had experienced with you. And this pull and this desire outside of that comfort zone, outside of these long-standing wounds that they've kind of nursed and that have become part of their identity. This urge and this draw to kind of go from this stance of kind of keeping emotional intimacy and connection at a distance to instead, facing these things, facing that vulnerability, facing the truth that as much as they may have kind of tried to project this image of they don't want love, they don't need love, maybe someone who wanted to remain a bachelor or a bachelorette, for an extended period of time. They didn't believe in romance, they didn't believe in relationships, they didn't believe in marriage, whatever. That the feelings that they have for you were very contradictory to that. It awoke something within this person that was very alluring. There was a draw to that then definitely triggered something within them, triggered these wounds and caused them to just kind of create the collapse of this situation. But they are watching, they are observing from afar, somebody who's very, kind of tongue-tied as well in terms of leaning into this, almost feeling themselves very unconsciously being drawn, wanting to reach out, almost to kind of like shake themselves and, oh no, what did I almost just do? And just kind of erase all the evidence, move back into this comfort zone, this known state of, love sucks, love stinks, and, I don't want this connection, this isn't what I'm looking for. So kind of this back and forth energy, a lot of inner turmoil and chaos within this person. Kind of vacillating between, kind of ignoring this and wanting to push this away, and then, just being very drawn to kind of investigate you, entertain the possibility of what could a fresh start look like, kind of these seeds that have been planted within them as well of, something that they even just had a suggestion of that, in some way this connection brought them back to life, brought their heart back to life. There was this allure to this possibility of healing that existed in this connection, being very drawn or compelled toward that, but then also that idea of kind of shaking themselves awake, these wounds within them, kind of rearing their ugly heads and reminding this person of the last time, or maybe a significant time when they opened their heart to love, and kind of the pain and the tragedy that resulted from that. And so somebody who almost just smashed this connection, the potential, to pieces, tore it all asunder to avoid kind of a repeat of that heartbreak. But they are now at this place of, movement in a certain way, in a very covert way, has been made. Somebody who wouldn't, be at the point necessarily of reaching out to you. But they're starting to kind of put their feelers out. They're starting to reach beyond kind of those blocks and those walls and those bars that they'd put up between the two of you, this fortress that they had contained themselves in, that they had tried to kind of put up around their life and their heart to keep you out. This is somebody who's starting to kind of project those feelers out, do that research, look you up online, see what you've been up to. Nose around on your social media pages, only to almost then again kind of withdraw back into that fortress. There's still a lock. There's still a lock around this person. They're not ready to break that silence yet, but this is an exploratory energy. So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self for you now, group 2, and see what do they want to say. Okay, and they say, I didn't mean what I said. So this ties into somebody who may have very impulsively and drastically, typed this big novel of an email or a text or a direct message, kind of breaking up with you remotely without giving you the opportunity to really talk things out, or some kind of a fight or an argument, an exchange back and forth between the both of you, where now they're sitting in this energy of knowing that they overreact, knowing that they have this tendency to do that, starting to recognize within themselves the wounds that they have been carrying around that have kind of generated this energy of self-sabotage, of kind of demolishing this connection with you. And we also have telepathic bond. So kind of like in this flattery card here with these two faces that are eye to eye, and it's contradictory to what's being displayed by the 3D self, that you're heavily on this person's mind. What has happened in this situation is on their mind. They are recognizing, they are seeing, they are sensing that as much as they may have tried to really destroy this connection, that there's something about this, there's something about you that they just can't shake. They feel very close to you in the higher levels from their higher self, but the 3D self is still just very wounded and closed off and guarded. But it's something where this person may even be seeing a lot of signs, a lot of synchronicities, reminders of you that kind of spark this curiosity, cause them to kind of put their feelers out, to really explore this. This almost feels like somebody who's kind of perhaps even looking at this connection as almost a form of addiction, something that they needed to just kind of push themselves away from, that they went almost cold turkey with cutting themselves off from really indulging in your energy. But then there's something that almost draws them back in. Something that they sense, maybe an energetic ripple from you, where you're both thinking about each other at kind of the same point in time, and it causes this person to almost lean a little deeper into that, do some digging, do some exploring. This urge that they have where, just sitting and thinking about it's not enough. They have to kind of get closer to that. They have to get closer to the possibility of reaching out and touching that, closer to the possibility also of getting caught, of accident. There's kind of an excitement and exhilaration that comes with that, this possibility of, what if you found out that they were looking you up on social media? What if you found out that they had unblocked you, that the messages you are sending to them or have sent were received, were read? Even if they hadn't responded themselves, what would that look like? What if they accidentally hit send on this, this declaration that would kind of turn the page between the both of you? What would that look like then? So it's this energy of somebody who kind of wants to, in this vein of dismantling, wants to dismantle this silence or the distance that they've created between the both of you, but isn't necessarily at a place of taking courageous and assertive action to do that. And they also say, I get emotional when I think of you. So somebody who might be very overwhelmed by that, very overwhelmed by emotions, somebody who could be very used to kind of compartmentalizing, very kind of emotionally closed off, somebody a very emotionally avoidant personality, or that's a coping mechanism that they've kind of adopted over time. And so the intensity and nature of what has been sparked within them, that energy of the heart chakra awakening, this can be part of that motivation for why they kind of sabotage this and push this away, perhaps in a very kind of abrupt or kind of unkind manner. They also say, I wish I could fix things between us. So that ties in with that idea of Eight of Pentacles and the work that they know they would need to do to kind of repair this situation, the work that they know needs to happen on themselves first. They may be at just kind of that very introductory stage of maybe looking more into themselves, looking more into this tendency that they have to self-sabotage, to keep intimacy at a distance. These wounds they've been carrying around, which at one point in time might have felt very comfortable. It was almost this fortress around themselves that had become a prison that they were trying to convince themselves was a palace. And there's a reality check that has happened for them, that by trying to keep you and other kind of opportunities for happiness and connection at a distance, they have really only kind of operated in a disservice to themselves. This is a very kind of lonely energy that this person is in. Okay, and we also have, I'm afraid to trust. So that is a confirmation right there of somebody who, has a deep fear of intimacy, has some kind of a substantial heartbreak, maybe something that they witnessed growing up that was never healed, it was never cauterized. It's a wound within them that continues to weep. And there's a deep fear of kind of going down that same path, going down that same road, becoming trapped maybe in a cycle of codependency, a one-sided relationship. Somebody who may be, at their core, a very emotional person. Maybe they experienced infidelity in a previous relationship and it has caused them to kind of put up their walls and kind of block that out. Difficulty trusting that they won't be betrayed in the same way by another person. And so they almost kind of create that self-fulfilling prophecy by being that betrayer, by being that source of betrayal and hurt rather than being on the receiving end of it. And we also have doubting. So they really doubt their kind of ability to bring you anything more than just more kind of pain and confusion at this point in time. They doubt their ability to break out of these cycles and habits within themselves. This is somebody who's very much still living within that kind of fortress prison within their own mind and within their own heart. They're starting to feel their way out of it, but then again, that doubt creeps up, that kind of fear of the unknown. What will happen if I take this step forward? What will happen if I shake this situation up? And it's that doubt that kind of pulls them back in, keeps them in this just very, it's almost like an energy of tiptoeing. Somebody who doesn't want to kind of create any energetic ripples, somebody who's being very careful and very deliberate, very slow, kind of creeping along out of sort of this silence, these walls, these bars that they have put up, and kind of putting those feelers out. Again, that idea of kind of accessing you on social media, looking around for a little bit, kind of sitting in that, being in that energy, only to have that doubt creep back up. And then they sort of wash that all away. They delete the search results. They delete anything they've saved. They try to delete the memory of that from their mind. They try to just sort of refocus maybe on work, maybe on what else they have going on in their life, and try to just kind of lock away these feelings that they have for you. But it's a relentless energy where they can only kind of lock that away for so long before they're kind of drawn back into that reality again, like an addiction where they're kind of pushing this away. They're trying to deny themselves of it, put it at a distance, put it out of their mind, only to kind of feel that urge, that hand kind of pulling them back toward it once again. And we also have regret. So that ties in with them not meaning what they said, a recognition on their part that there was some cruelty or some impulsiveness, or that they may have made a bigger deal out of a particular circumstance than needed to be, that they may have overreacted. There's regret as well for, not maybe having asked for some distance or some time and space in a more appropriate way, in a more gentle way, kind of the the fallout from that, some recognition that they have as they've kind of, the dust has settled and they've kind of gone into this introspective energy. They're cognizant of the hurt that they cause, not only to you, but to themselves, and kind of the wedge and the barrier and the circumstances you now find yourselves in. They're taking a lot of that on their shoulders. They're accepting a lot of personal responsibility for that, where in the past they may have really projected blame. They also say, I want a future with you. So there is this gradual kind of leaning in toward making change in some way in this circumstance. This feels like somebody who is still really overcome with a lot of fear. They feel most comfortable in this deep energy of kind of silence and observation. But it's something where when they kind of think about things long term, they know things have to shift and have to change within themselves. There's a hopefulness that, if they are able to kind of overcome these issues within themselves, kind of come to terms with this darkness, kind of heal these wounds that they've just been carrying around with them, that potentially it would be at least a step in the right direction to kind of mending things in this circumstance. So I'm going to close this reading for you with some initials. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got A, Y, D, F, J, R, K, V, U, W, I, C, X, E, O, Q, N, and P. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 3. You chose the Apophyllite, along with these cards, which I will start with to see who is watching your social media. We've got Nine of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Wheel of Fortune, which for me as a reader is mutable energy, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius. The Lovers, which is Gemini. Five of Cups, so more water energy. Blossoming Abundance. Judication. Eccentricity. And Gentleman. So to start with the Gentleman card, if you resonate as a twin flame, you consider yourself to be the divine feminine. This can represent your divine masculine is watching you on social media, gender aside, just the masculine polarity of energy. And this can be somebody that you are either in full separation from, maybe somebody where there's a little bit of communication, a little bit of contact. You're just starting to, with this idea of the Wheel of Fortune, the page has just kind of turned between the both of you. Maybe communication between you has been unblocked recently. You've recently started to communicate again with this idea of blossoming abundance, starting to kind of rebuild the situation, kind of test the waters with each other. Moving out of this energy with Five of Cups of kind of loss and grief in the direction of Nine of Cups, satisfaction and starting to not necessarily touch on kind of the difficulties that the two of you faced before, but it could almost be this amicable energy with this idea of judication. It's bringing up this kind of this energy of mediation, something where, you're not trying to rush into anything too quickly with one another. You're not trying to jump full force back into a connection, into a relationship with one another, but just kind of take things slowly, being very cordial, keeping things very surface level. And there's an indication that beyond whatever the nature of your exchanges are, the duration of these things or the ways in which you're communicating, this person is putting a lot more focus on you in terms of your social media than they are letting on. This person could also be almost watching your social media from afar. And certain things that you post are cues to this person that are either maybe kind of spurring on some kind of jealousy, some kind of fear, some kind of a lack mentality. This can also be something with the Lovers that brings in an element of choice. So this could be something where maybe you started to talk with somebody else. Maybe you sparked up a friendship with somebody else. You've started to, open your heart to the possibility of romantic connections in other ways. And this person, your counterpart, has observed this. They have seen this. They have witnessed this. Kind of the introduction of new energy, a significant new person with this eccentric energy here into your life. So not just kind of a casual passerby, but somebody that you're having a lot of exchanges with. And this observation of that, it has kind of sparked or spurred something within this person that has caused them to maybe reach out to you, or is causing them to do a lot more investigation and observation of your social media, maybe even of this other person, to try and figure out, who is this? Is this competition? What's going on here in this circumstance? And it feels that a lot of this is being kept very kind of hidden, very kind of sub rosa, very undercover. This is not something which is really announced directly, but there's a lot of observation here, combined with kind of moving around and sort of investigating all these different kind of components to see, where are you at in your life? Who do you have in your life? Who are these significant people that you're kind of spending time with, that you're talking with? What are they about? What's their story? Where are they in terms of romance or in terms of their life? What's the nature of this connection? Trying to kind of get to the bottom of this without coming out directly and asking these sort of questions of you. If this is somebody where it's a full no contact situation, where there still hasn't been that kind of initiation of communication, it's that same concept though of somebody, your counterpart who has observed this kind of, this new personality, a significant person maybe that is in your life. And it has really sparked this kind of investigation, this, trying to get to the bottom of things to figure out, who is this? This with adjudication and this image of the judge here, trying to really determine, to weigh this, to evaluate this and see, is this person competition, maybe sparking a bit of protectiveness, or almost somebody who's wanting to lay claim to you, despite the fact that you may have been in this period of separation with this person, that for all intents and purposes, they don't have a right to feel as possessive over you as they do. They may have really, kind of shut you out. You may be in kind of a season, a winter period. Maybe even time has gone by, significant amounts of time since you were last in communication with each other, and that there is no logical reason for them feeling this jealousy, them feeling this protectiveness, or this territorial kind of energy here, to where they might be almost with this idea of eccentricity. They're almost going over the top in terms of a level of kind of concern, or wanting to kind of sniff things out, investigate things, and kind of say, well, who is this? Who are these people that are in this person's life, in my counterpart's life? It feels that kind of this jealousy that has been sparked within this person, they are trying to, on the surface, just kind of act very put together, act very unbothered with that gentleman energy, gender aside, just kind of acting very cool about the whole situation, whether you're in contact with one another or not. But beneath the surface, there's almost this very wild energy to this person, this almost frantic energy to this person. I'm getting kind of this visual of almost the Tasmanian devil from the cartoons, and that's what's going on beneath the surface within this person, that they're almost really frothing over this. A lot of kind of jealousy has been sparked by something that they are seeing on your social media. If it's not even a person that you're directly talking to, it's an idea that this person may be in a very kind of, they're presenting this detached exterior to you. Maybe there's no communication, or it's just kind of very civil, sort of just blossoming, just the first little sprouts of something. But there's, outside of the bounds of that, is they're kind of doing their own digging, they're doing their own investigation, they're kind of looking around, snooping around. They're seeing you in this very, kind of beautiful and gentle, very abundant light. They're seeing you standing in this very magnetic energy, maybe a lot of other abundance that you're cultivating for yourself. Maybe you've really turned the page in your own life. You're in a season of prosperity. You've had some kind of a glow up. You're really working toward, cultivating abundance for yourself. You're loving your life. You're loving yourself. You're in a very good energy. You appear to be very favored by the divine at this point in time. Things are really working out for you. And this person is then almost feeling this frustration or this jealousy, like, why did I let this person go? Why did I not see this? What happens if somebody else sees what I see and they kind of step in to what should be my place by this person's side, although, they could have been the one to kind of take a step back or to not assert themselves more in this circumstance. And so again, it's almost this jealousy or this kind of frantic energy that's very misplaced. It feels very confusing for this person, and it's very confusing based on the nature of the circumstances between you in general, that they almost don't have cause, they don't have license, they don't have a right to feel this way because of the nature of the circumstances. And yet whatever it is they're seeing, it's almost putting them in this panic mode, the sense of loss here, the sense of, having missed out on a really good thing, and you now being in this position where somebody else is going to see that, somebody else is going to step in and kind of take their place in your heart. And so there's a lot that's being weighed by this person at this point in time. They're kind of needing to really balance out, wanting to be tactful, wanting to be very measured in their approach, trying to maintain kind of a cool exterior based on what they are seeing and what they're sensing. And then you've got this whole other energy that's going on within them, all this kind of chaos going on within them, kind of their imagination running wild with this flying fish here and jumping to all kinds of conclusions, and just making a big drama out of everything, out of what might be just a very kind of benign or casual situation, or again this feeling of kind of loss and defeat, focusing on that, on what they missed out on, and this feeling of almost, how could I have been so foolish to have let this go, to not see and recognize this person as they are, that should be me there by their side instead of this other person, or even just kind of this void, this empty space that they are very much aware that will not exist forever, that something will blossom out of that. This glow up, this period of time you are in at this point in your life, this season of abundance that you have created for yourself or that you're stepping into, that energy of magnetism, what they are seeing magnetized to you. They know that a next logical step of that is the magnetization of love. There is a sense also with this eccentric energy of somebody who, it's almost like the idea of the house is really messy and somebody's on their way home. They're an hour away. They've called to let you know, I'll be there shortly, and looking all around and seeing, well, the dishes haven't been done and the laundry hasn't been folded, and I had a party and everything's a mess, and I have to get this, I haven't brushed my hair today. I'm a mess. Everything's a mess. And it's this frantic energy of wanting to try to clean up, to kind of tidy things up, tighten things up, step into that very, calm and composed and, just very sort of aloof, and yet at the same time, kind of this desirable energy of the gentleman, where, there's something of merit and of value to offer, something comparable to this very abundant energy that they see you in, and yet feeling and recognizing and being very acutely aware of the disrepair that is going on internally, or the disrepair in their life. Somebody who's almost scrambling to kind of pick up the pieces before it's too late. So somebody who's definitely in this very snooping kind of energy, looking at your social media, looking at the social media accounts of other people that you are kind of in contact with, or having some kind of a dialogue, to try and get sort of the full picture and the full story of what sort of other factors and influences are involved in things. But it feels like somebody who really is, again, kind of making a lot of drama out of that, jumping to a lot of conclusions, or is really reading between the lines of some things, maybe even things you don't see, things that to you are just very kind of casual and surface. But to this person, what they are picking up on energetically, it has definitely sparked some kind of a reaction in them that is really creating this sense of urgency and a sense of loss, a sense of pressure to create that balance, to solve and to, create some kind of reconciliation within themselves and within their own life in order to be able to, step forward and provide you with something, maybe that offer of love, maybe that recognition of the bond between the both of you, where they had at one point, turned their back on these two cups here. They turned their back on this connection, on the potential of you as their soulmate or their twin flame or their counterpart. They're now sitting in the regret of that and not really certain, but feeling very much a pressure to kind of turn around, to kind of clean up this gloomy scene that has kind of been festering between the both of you. And even if it's something where, again, that connection maybe has just kind of sparked, or the page is kind of turned in that sense, it's kind of opened up a little bit, there is still that sense of urgency of almost the watched pot won't boil, but this person is just really sitting there like, hurry up, get, trying to kind of speed up the hands of time here, regretting, wishing they could turn back the clock, turn back the hands of time, do things a lot differently, very acutely aware of that space in your life that is being filled with all these other things, or the potential of being filled with all these other things, specifically a person that is not them, by your side. And it's creating this almost frantic energy. Kind of the more they look, the more they kind of investigate, the more they snoop, and the more kind of stories and fairy tales and these wild kind of dramas and myths that they make for themselves, or even, if it's somebody who is sensitive to energy, what they're picking up, what they are perceiving, what they are able to really anticipate and recognize kind of beneath the exterior of what's being shown. It's created some profound impact within them, that they're recognizing the gravity of this, something that might be starting to build or culminate or grow for you with you and another person, or with the energies in your life that will then kind of, as a consequence and in conjunction with all this other abundance, it will necessarily and logically bring in that love as well. That the pressure is upon them. They're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. But somebody who doesn't, it's really a struggle to be very logical about this, very methodical about this, because there's this internal tendency to just, and a fear that they have of if they say too much, if they move too soon, if they move in too quickly or too intensely, that it'll dismantle what they would like to build, what they would like to move toward, what you are just starting to kind of recreate with one another. If they come in before they are completely kind of have all their ducks in a row, have everything kind of sorted out in their own life, then it would just lead to more of this loss. It would put them even further from where they are now, recognizing and acknowledging where they would want to be, which is by your side, standing in the light of this love rather than in the shadows of what happened in the past. So I'm going to get some messages from this person's higher self now, group 3, and see what do they want to tell you. Okay, and they say, I'm ashamed of how I treated you. So they're definitely recognizing your value, your worth, wishing they could be that person by your side, feeling a lot of regret at having turned their back on this connection, or not seeing and appreciating the value, the potential in this connection. This notion as well of, again, wanting to turn back those hands of time, wishing they could do things differently, recognizing that there's a mess here, there's a messiness in this situation, there's a messiness within them, that they are kind of in this process of needing to sort of sort that out, create that balance between this urge, this almost animal instinct between them, and this higher self, this more composed aspect of themselves. Somebody who's been kind of, sitting in regret as well over things that were said, or again, a decision to move away from you, to distance themselves from you, in this connection. And a little bit also of kind of this feeling of they wish they had reached out sooner. If this is somebody that you're in contact with, and it's just kind of these blossoming sort of first green sprouts of growth, that there's a sense of urgency here, that if only they had kind of come to this conclusion and come to this place and kind of taken this action sooner, the two of you would be a lot further along toward that energy of reconciliation and mending things, and there wouldn't be almost this fear that they have of somebody else kind of swooping in and taking their place. Okay, and they also say, I wish I could turn back the clock and do things over. So direct confirmation right there of somebody who is really not happy with the bed that they have made for themselves in this situation, is focusing on the spilt milk in this situation. A feeling of almost feeling very, very stupid or foolish for having not seen or not anticipated, not looked beyond maybe the immediate messy kind of circumstances between the both of you, and not recognizing kind of that potential, not believing in the potential of this connection, not continuing to invest in whatever you had experienced or were creating with one another. There's a sense of they've almost dismantled that. They've created these shambles. They have put themselves in this position where now it's almost a race against the clock, a race against time, to kind of sort these things out within themselves, do that cleanup work within them, do that cleanup work in their life, to be able to have something of value to offer you. A feeling of, almost this idea of kind of when somebody's taking a test, and they kind of have just been taking their time with it, like in school, and looking up at the clock and realizing that, there's 5 minutes left on the clock and there's still 20 questions left to answer. It's that sense of pressure and urgency that this person is feeling, that it's almost this doomed feeling that they have, that maybe they have procrastinated too long. Maybe they didn't use this time apart wisely. They've squandered it. They've frittered it away. And now it's that point of, decision time. It's that crossroads point where something is getting ready to change for the two of you and in your life. They are recognizing that, abundance is coming in for those who have cultivated the space within themselves and in their life to receive that. And what they are observing on social media of you and of other things that are happening in your life, they are seeing you as that very fertile ground, that very fertile plain for abundance in all ways to sprout out, that you're very magnetic. Things are really being drawn to you. You're in this energy of manifestation. And then they are looking around at themselves and kind of their life and what they have to offer. And they are seeing that polarity and recognizing that the nature of what you are manifesting in some way is very different from what they have to bring to the table and the energy they are embodying at this point in time. And we've got divine counterparts, so recognition, confirmation right there that this could definitely be your twin flame, with that 2 of Cups in the background of the 5 of Cups as the kind of that soulmate energy, and also the Lovers, which can be seen as a soulmate or a twin flame card. And we also have twin flame journey, so another confirmation there if you needed it. This could definitely be your divine masculine or your divine feminine who is watching you from afar. Maybe, again, somebody you've just reinitiated contact with recently. Things are kind of surface level, or this can even be somebody who, is just kind of come back around that you might not even be speaking with yet. This could be full silence, and yet they are watching, they are observing, they are researching, they are looking at you, they are looking at people who interact with you frequently. People that like your photos, people that, are commenting on things, or looking at the friends list and kind of anyone that they're getting this sort of feeling about, oh, who's this? Is this what's going on here, and trying to do some kind of investigation, maybe even things that just, were very benign or not of, a necessarily platonic level. Maybe you do have a budding romance with somebody else, and this person has taken note of that. They may have even sensed that energetically, some kind of a ripple or an alarm bell that went off to them when your energy shifted, when your focus shifted, when you started exchanging energies with somebody else, and something started blossoming, something started growing out of that. Perhaps even a friendship that is developing into something more. It has clued this person in. It has set off that very eccentric, panicked energy about this person. Who is this? Who is this new introduction in this energy that I have known, that I have been so comfortable and familiar with? This person that is mine, my counterpart, my twin flame, even if it's somebody that I've chosen to turn my back on. It's almost this very, again, they don't seem to really be in a position to be saying that, to be so possessive in that sense. Nevertheless, it has sparked some kind of jealousy and urgency, a territorialness almost about feeling that there's been some kind of an encroachment, wanting to investigate, find out what this is, but feeling very much at a loss, kind of like they don't have anything to offer at this point in time that would necessarily kind of turn back the hands of time, or would, really stop the clock on whatever this other situation is in your life that might be blossoming or growing. Okay, and they also say angry. So again, that frantic energy, that Tasmanian devil energy of whatever it is that they are seeing, whatever it is that they are observing, people that are giving you attention. It is making this person very upset, very uncomfortable, very frustrated, because they know, part of them knows that they are not in a position to kind of in their life or just in the circumstances that exist between you. They're not in a position to be possessive. They're not in a position to, say that they have laid claim to you other than this soul connection. This feeling of oneness, it most likely exists just in those higher realms, that in a 3D sense, you're just not at that point with one another at this place. And so they're very angry with themselves for having let this connection slip through their fingers, for having turned their back on this, for actions that they've done up to this point in time, or not kind of, again, using this time wisely to work on themselves. They've had some kind of an epiphany, some kind of an awareness. They are seeing you in this very angelic, very divine light. And kind of what's been triggered within them is almost bringing back, almost very unconsciously and perhaps even surprisingly for this person, that kind of jealousy or possessiveness. It has really dawned on them now that you are their counterpart. you are their twin flame. They feel that way about you. These concepts you may have mentioned that they kind of laughed off or that it didn't resonate, it resonates now, or they're exploring that. They're opening their eyes as well to like, well, why do I feel this way about somebody I haven't talked to in months or years, or I closed the door on, or I told them I wasn't interested, I didn't have feelings. It's, it's just, we're just trying to be friends, or, any of these other kind of things, any of these other kind of circumstances or scenarios, and yet they are feeling something more. They can't help but feel that, and so it's bringing that attention internally to the nature of this connection, and it's making them very frustrated at themselves for having not acted or seen this before. They also say no one else matters now, so they feel very singularly focused on you. If this is somebody who didn't want to settle down previously, maybe just wanted to remain single, play the field, didn't really want to commit, there is a certainty. Something has really been sparked within this person. Again, that energy of almost this possessiveness, where they're trying to kind of figure out, what can they do to kind of pick up the pieces of their life or in themselves, or kind of fast track this evolution within them, this ascension within them that maybe they've deferred. Maybe they were just kind of very frivolous with it. They frittered away that time. And there's a sense of being very singularly focused on this, like, what do I need to do in order to come back into this person's life, or to be able to kind of advance the level that we are at in our connection. I don't want to lose this person. I feel that there is a risk of losing them, that their heart may be opening to somebody else. Someone else is starting to entertain their attention, or the kind of the abundance that they are cultivating. The gap between us is becoming deeper and deeper. I'm falling further behind, and it's this sense of urgency, the sense of priority that is now being placed on how to kind of remedy and clean up this situation. They also say, I miss you more than you know. So this can definitely be somebody who is giving no indications that they are having these feelings. It could be complete radio silence between you and this person. You haven't heard from them. There's no indication that they even are aware of what is going on in your life, or that they even care in the least bit. And it ties in with that idea of gentlemen and kind of this facade that they are putting up, this very calm and collected exterior that really is just... it does not indicate the true face of this person, with that eccentric card and kind of the lovers, where, there's this depth of feeling, there's a depth of loss that they have sustained since moving away from you. It feels very acute, it feels very constant, it feels that there's been this constant ache within them. For you, a lot of regret about what happened, but that they just didn't necessarily have the motivation to do anything about it, or they were making excuses, or were just kind of stuck in some tendencies and cycles. But kind of on the other side of that is this deep sensation, this deep kind of cognizance of who you are to them, and kind of a feeling again of wishing they could turn back the hands of time and do things differently, participate in this connection versus turning their back on it or pushing it away. And we also have old flames, so another confirmation right there of this being a counterpart, your twin flame, who is aware of what you have going on in your life, maybe kind of making things out to be a bigger deal than they are, or somebody who is on the flip side of that, very much recognizing, very much aware and cognizant that you may have held space for them for a certain period of time, but then, you have maybe kind of turned that focus on yourself. You've prioritized yourself. You're opening yourself up to love in the form of another person, focusing on your own abundance, experiencing a lot of abundance, magnetizing a lot of abundance to you. And part of that spectrum of abundance does include love. It includes friendships. It includes, kind of amicable relationships with people. This person, your twin flame, your counterpart, your soulmate, your twin soul, they are very much aware of this. They are very much aware of you. You are energetically connected to one another. The shifts that you make are felt by this person. Almost like a fishing line that a fisherman has in the water. and you know, kind of this idea of a fish being on the other side of that, and you can't see it, it's obscured by the water, but there's a tension there in that fishing line. The person holding it is very much aware that there's something on the other end. There's a sense of this line having gone slack, you having moved off in another direction, and this person being aware of that and diving in, investigating that, saying something has changed, what has shifted, it doesn't feel the same way that it did before. And what they are seeing, what they are encountering, what they are projecting or building up to be something more in their mind, or even what they are kind of reading between the lines of and really seeing as kind of from this fly on the wall perspective, from that wider vantage point. It's filling them with this sense of dread and this sense of fear that they have kind of let something that they at one point in time took for granted. They are now cherishing that. They're cherishing you in this connection, and a feeling of you having slipped through their fingers, and a lot of kind of regret and pressure and frustration that they are feeling about that. So I'm going to close this reading for you, group 3, with some initials. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. I've got N, R, U, Q, E, O, P, F, H, I, Y, B, D, X, V, and Z. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the video. Please take care and be well.